Here you see me with a mask. So the whole project actually was developed with the European Union Center and sponsored by the European Union Center at Illinois to give us study abroad directors in Europe also something to do during the pandemic, which was great, which we all appreciated a lot. The European Union Center developed the course. I think Walter presented on that yesterday already. And I will be talking about the Vienna session. So it was a Smart Cities online course in fall 2020. I taught on Vienna. Before I start, just to get an impression of who is in the audience, could you write one thing in the chat, just where are you from, like city and country, what your target group is of teaching, how old is your target group, and first 3 associations you have with Vienna. That will be very helpful to get a sense of who we are. I see that we are 39 people, which is wonderful. And I've seen that we have Azerbaijan and Greece, Chicago, Poland in the audience, Spain, Italy, North Macedonia, primary school, Paris, Ukraine, Romania, fantastic. Martinique, Turkey, United States. Oh wow, that's quite the audience that you're getting. Congratulations, Sydney, on your outreach work here. I'm impressed. Iowa, Baku State University. Okay, so students between 11 and 14, 9 to 12 grades. Italy. Wonderful. I mean, if you could also adults. Okay, so everything from primary school to adults. 10 to 18-year-old French language classes. Yeah, we also teach a lot of language classes here in Vienna. Yeah, and here we get some associations: Klimt, Freud, and Roses, music, tradition, and Sachertorte, music, art, classic. Wonderful. All right, so thank you so much for sharing some of this with me. Music, pastries, and castles. Wonderful. All right. So when I was asked to develop the Vienna portion of this course, museums and Apfelstrudel, of course, wonderful. I was thinking about 2 things. About the goals for this course. And one is how do I make students experience Vienna as a smart and sustainable innovative city? Because as we all know, Vienna has a long tradition, also especially in the US, of being this small capital in Europe, Habsburg Empire, and so on and so forth. But I think Vienna is not perceived so much as a smart and sustainable city. It is. So that was one thing. And the other thing was how to even make the students experience Vienna when they cannot come to Vienna anymore. So I'm the director of the Illinois Vienna programs, which is an exchange program between the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign and 4 partner universities. The Vienna University of Economics and Business, where our office is, and that you can see in my virtual background. The University of Vienna, University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences, and the Vienna University of Technology. And we exchange around 100 students every year, semester, academic year, but also short programs. And we offer our language courses, culture and history courses, global internship course. And our target group is US bachelor students mainly, I would say. So when the pandemic interrupted our study abroad work, we were thinking how to make US American students experience study abroad locations like Vienna. And I still wanted them to give them somewhat a chance to meet people, right? To see people And we thought we can try to do that. Total amateurs. We had no idea about video production. You'll see it later. It's still, very beginner's work, so to speak. But we wanted to produce videos and give students a chance to meet people. Since it was easier with the time difference and everything, we pre-recorded the videos. We didn't do live videos, which would also have advantages, obviously, when students could ask direct questions. But we interviewed people and asked the questions and presented them to students in pre-recorded videos. So these were my goals for the Vienna module. This is the course overview. So within 6 weeks, we introduced students to a couple of aspects that we pre-selected. And when I went about selecting, I thought, okay, where are interesting examples to look at in Vienna? First of all, in the first lection, the first lecture, I gave a little bit of an introduction to Vienna, and in the first assignment, I also wanted to meet the students a little, so I asked them for introductory videos where they would introduce themselves to us and to the others. Then one theme was smart, cool, and socially inclusive. One, I think, particular thing about Vienna that might be a little different from other smart cities is that Vienna has a focus on social inclusion. For decades now, Vienna is run by social democrat mayors, and the social inclusion is very important. It's also in the Smart City Vienna framework. So that was also one topic that I selected. In the second lecture, I presented my first interview. Then I interviewed the vice mayor of the second district from the Green Party, Bernhard Seitz, about sustainable urban living. If you have a little bit of time later on, I'll show you. And if not, I will give you the link if you want to look it up. So I asked the vice mayor about the challenges, about his challenges in his daily work to, make sustainable urban living in Vienna more and more innovative. Then in the third lecture, we didn't talk about it because we presented everything, so it was an asynchronous course. I should add here, and the students were presented with lectures where everything was written out to them, also the tasks. What is Smart City Wien, Smart City Vienna, and an introduction. The next assignment was that after readings, they had to produce an essay about their favorite Smart City Vienna example project that gave them access to a couple of example projects. The fourth lecture was about rethinking smart cities in times of climate change. For this purpose, I went to the Smart City Wien manager close to the City Hall, Eva Pangal, and I led an interview with her that I then presented to the students. And then there were 3 more lectures, adapting to climate change. I asked the students then in their third assignment to create a video on rethinking urban spaces in times of climate change. So this whole idea of rethinking, redesigning, innovative forward thinking for existing spaces, but finding new purposes, new usages for them. And then, as I said, I picked social inclusion, I picked climate change, because there are a couple of interesting examples for cool zones and cooling Vienna, cooling the city. The other thing that is pretty interesting about Vienna is that it hosts one of Europe's largest urban development projects. It's called Seestadt Aspern, Lake City Aspern. And I led an interview with Martin Mitterwalder from the Visitor Center Seestadt Aspern. He told us about, the whole project, about the dimension of it. They created basically a new city within the city. And it is also used a lot to get new data on all sorts of things. And one very important attempt of this urban development project is to make sure that people don't need their cars so much. So they tried really hard of making everything accessible and of making it as easy as possible to live there without people having to have cars. And then in the last lecture, the title, Defining and Redefining Dreaming Smart Cities. So we asked the students to dream big. When they, in assignment number 3, everyone had to submit this video on rethinking urban spaces with their own ideas. And then for assignment 4, they all had to watch these videos that were uploaded from their peers. And then they were asked to write an essay connecting theory to practice, drawing from different definitions that I exposed them to, different articles, watching the peers' videos, and then select one of these ideas and comment on their favorite rethinking idea. So what I tried with this is I tried to create somewhat of a community among the students, right? To interact with one another. I tried with the videos and with having me as an instructor in the video to also make myself visible, assuming that it would have a positive impact on students' motivation and their learning progress if they see their instructor, and especially if they experience interaction with expert guest speakers, and I think that was the case, for all cities included in this project. And I think that was one of the most interesting things, I guess, also for the students, be exposed to that. Maybe one thing, and that became especially interesting for me now when I watched the videos again. Obviously, the video production was a lot of work, right? I mean, you do not only record it, but you have to make sure the sound is right, and then you have to break it down in segments, and you want to have titles for certain segments. You have to cut out stuff that is not necessary and arrange it. You have to add knowledge, right? So we also try to explain as much as possible, because you have to create these videos assuming that the students, they have never been to Vienna, maybe they've never been to Europe, maybe they've never heard of a smart city. So you want them, to make it as easy for them as possible to learn, put information on those videos and slides. But what became very clear to me when I watched it now again after 2 years or 3 years is how quickly everything is outdated. And when I tried to tailor the videos very much to the students, and I think that was a good thing, right? So we addressed the European 199 students again and again, and we emphasized the course and everything. But it became very individualized, and you cannot really use a lot of the materials for other purposes now. So I think what I would definitely recommend to anyone who's doing something similar like this is to carefully think before they go into the video production, if they could, record this in a way and produce this in a way where they would still have a lot of, individualized material, but maybe some portions create them a little more timeless than we did. That was just a thought that came across my mind. So I'm now looking at the watch. Is already 4:18. So here now I will go through some slides explaining a little more what we did in the lectures. And I will ask Sydney then to share the presentation with you and everyone who's interested, so that you have the links yourself. I always broke it down in watch, read, write, and produce. So I wanted to make sure that they have something to watch. I introduced myself in the first lecture. Then I gave them different readings from different sources, statistics, the Vienna Journal, some light reading, but then also some scholarly reading. And then I gave them questions to the materials that they read. That's an example of the assignment number 1. I asked them to introduce themselves, but with the focus on our topic, right? So I asked the question, they should record on their mobile phones and then upload it for everyone to see. Do you prefer living in an urban or rural setting, and why? What do cities need to offer? High quality of living for its inhabitants. And then, have you ever been to Vienna or any other European city? Share an observation. So that was the introductory part about themselves, but with a focus on our topic. And then the second part was I asked them to look at the Smart City Wien project on the website, and then they select their favorite project. I explained their choice and compared to similar projects in the US. So I also tried to include the comparative aspect as much as possible, make them aware of the fact that not everything would work in every setting, right? And obviously, the city of Vienna is run differently and works differently and has different preconditions than the city of Chicago, for example. So that was also a focus of mine. Yeah, one topic that is also interesting that was raised was about heating plans for outdoor restaurant areas. So I think this is where during the pandemic, different needs clashed a lot, and we have many examples of that, right? But one example was, for example, that in Vienna, during the lockdowns and afterwards, and then when people could only meet outside or outdoors, the heating plants grew a lot outside, and obviously it's not a very smart and sustainable way of living when you heat outdoor areas, but restaurants needed to make money. So we talked a little bit about innovative ideas where at least we could use smart technology for these heating plants to be automatically switched on and off to not use even more energy, right? So that was one example. And I asked them to familiarize themselves with the Smart City Wien framework strategy. I think this is also something interesting about Vienna, that it has a very rigid, very dense Smart City Wien framework strategy. I didn't ask them to read everything, but I asked them to read the portions about social inclusion, and hoping, of course, that when they look through the chapters, that other chapters maybe would also catch their attention and their interest. All right, that was the lecture about Smart City Wien, where there's a short video explaining what Smart City Wien is. And for the lecture, when I asked them to listen to the interview with Eva Pangal, I asked them to respond to certain questions. So I think, looking at the time now, I will show you now just one little bit of an example of a video that we produced, telling you a little bit about what we tried to achieve with this. And then I will ask you if you have questions. So I'll share my screen now. So as I said, one of our challenges was to provide context. And for example, when I invited the vice mayor of the second district and we did the interview here on the also pretty smart and sustainable new campus, actually, of the University of Economics and Business, we also tried to include some footage of where we are, assuming that it would be much more interesting for the students this way. So I'll show you how we started the video.
Hello, Euro 199 students. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our interview with Bernhard Seitz today, the Vice Mayor of the second district, Leopoldstadt. Where are we today? We are at home, so to speak. We are in our Illinois and Vienna programs office, located on the WU campus, very beautiful, new and also smart campus. And we are sitting here in our office in front of a few pictures of historic Austrian tourism site, Viennese tourism sites. We can see the Ferris wheel, which is very close actually to our office. We also see Castle, Schönbrunn Castle. We see the Secession and the Vienna State Opera. But today we will not be talking too much about Austria.
All right, so that was the beginning, and now we'll skip to another point where Bernhard Seitz is talking a little bit about his role.
Students, so what do you do in your position in the second district?
I'm the vice district mayor, the district mayor of the Green Party, and I share the same objectives. Our main concern is public space. The districts in Vienna are grossly stated the authority for public space, so we take care about streets, parks, also zoning, housing development, and we also have very interesting small affairs, like we deal with house owners who cut trees, or with shop owners or restaurants who want to have little terraces in front of the places. So it's a very diverse industry related or capital intense space of public politics, and it's also very detailed and very much in contact with people. So it's a very interesting and challenging task.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can imagine.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. So I will stop here. So what we tried to do when we invited these guest lecturers is we wanted to give the students a little bit of a perspective of what these people are doing, what their jobs are, what their challenges are, and also in the interviews show them where their offices are, where they are in Vienna, and what is typical for the districts where they are. And to conclude here, I think it was a very interesting experience, especially working with the other colleagues, right? One city after another. It was a very special project, and the students were exposed to a lot of materials. But I think it was very important that we had Walter to coordinate us, because obviously the logistics is pretty time-consuming for everyone when you involve 4 instructors from 4 different cities in an online class. But it was absolutely worth